It's that time of the year and we're already gearing up for the election on November 5th. And if you're looking for a way to get involved beyond filling out your ballot, then consider becoming an election judge in Chicago. Election judges are paid to manage polling places and help voters. You can earn anywhere from $170 to $230 for your service. You must be a U.S. citizen and a registered voter in Cook County. And if you also speak Spanish, Hindi, Polish, Korean, Tagalog, or Chinese dialect, then the Chicago Board of Elections definitely needs your help. Head to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov to learn more and apply.
At the heart of Chicago, there's Navy Pier. It's a place where the Centennial Ferris wheel gives views for days. It's where boat tours take off and where the music is always on. It's where you can spin around on rides, share around with friends, and taste every flavor Chicago has to offer. This is Navy Pier, and this is what it's made for. Plan your visit at NavyPier.org.
Make sure you stay tuned after the guide for a conversation sponsored by Revolution Brewing about what they've got cooking up for Oktoberfest. Today on CityCast Chicago, is the summer actually over? I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend because we're back with your guide to September. It's Tuesday, September 3rd. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Helping me break down this guide, I am joined by our executive producer, Simone Alicea. What's up, Simone?
Hey, Jacoby.
Glad to have you back, my friend. And we are joined by one and only Hey Chicago newsletter editor, Sydney Madden. Welcome back to the mic, Sid.
Hi, Jacoby.
We typically only get you like once a month, maybe twice a month. So I'm always happy when you join us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And if you are new to CityCast Chicago, welcome. Where have you been these last 3 years? No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put that much pressure on you. You here now, and that's all that matters. We are the daily podcast and newsletter bringing you everything you need to know about this city we love. We had the local guide for the Democratic National Convention. We also let you know the best new restaurants that are opening. We have fun debating the true Chicago icons. And yes, this happens 5 days a week, every single week in your feeds and your inboxes. And since this is our guide to September, we're going to revisit a debate we love to have. We've been doing it for the last 3 years. Is summer really over? Simone, I know you got strong opinions about this. Give me your answer. Is summer already gone?
Yeah, summer's over. I'm sorry if I'm the one to have to let you know, but summer's over. Summer lasts, and I've said this before on the show. We said it during our May guide. I'm going to remind you. It goes from Memorial Day to Labor Day. That is the summer. Culturally, vibe-wise, that's what it feels like. And even though, the stars may say otherwise, I think it feels like fall, personally.
I agree with you less about the start of summer, but I almost always agree with you about the end of summer because I'm back to teaching classes now. Most of the festivals that I really was looking forward to in the summer have already come and gone. And so while the calendar says we got until Chicago Hinge and them amazing pictures we're going to be getting off later this month, for most of us here, it feels like summer's already wrapped up. What about you, Sydney? You spent all summer giving Chicagoans great things to do. Is the season still going for you?
Absolutely. I love summer. Summer to me is just a mindset. So it can be January, and if it's summer in my head, then it's still summer.
Summertime forever. Well, since I'm team it's fall, I want to know, what is your best fall tip, thing you're most looking forward to? Sid, as the resident fall hater, what do you got for the people? What are you looking forward to this fall?
For fellow fall haters, we are avoiding acknowledging that it's fall by escaping through art. Obviously, this time of year, it is getting a little colder. So there's just a lot of stuff going on inside. One thing I'm really excited to see is Noises Off at Steppenwolf. 10 years ago this year, actually, my high school theater put the show on, and one of my high school friends is back in town. So I'm really excited to go see it. I also don't remember the plot at all.
It's so funny, Sid. My high school also put on Noises Off. So I also have very fond memories of going to see that play as a high schooler. And Steppenwolf, one of our City Cast Chicago sponsors. So you've heard Jacoby talking about it. It really is the play for former theater kids, I think.
I think so too. And actually, the ad was how I figured out it was happening. So full circle. But something else I'm really looking forward to is the Printers Row Lit Fest. I've actually never been, so I don't have any sort of schedule, itinerary, anything I really want to do. I just want to walk through and wander. Noticed a lot of speakers on the lineup that we were familiar with. Natalie Moore, Ben Austin. So that's something else I'm looking forward to. And then concerts. So this is the real big one that I'm super duper excited about. I haven't gone to that many concerts since pre-pandemic, but within a week or two in September, I could go to more concerts than I've been to in the last few years. So Avril Lavigne's coming to Northerly Island. Those tickets are crazy. I'm kind of hoping they drop the day of, but would be iconic. Not the biggest Avril fan. I didn't grow up with her, but I feel like she just has some hits that we're all nostalgic about. Shabuzi is at the Metro. He's only going to get bigger.
Biggest song in the world this year, it seems like.
If I had been on top of it, I could have gotten $30 tickets. $30 tickets, but now these resale tickets are $100. So again, hoping those come down. Yeah, exactly.
I ain't gonna lie, that song be getting me when it come on.
It's so good. And obviously, like the rest of the world, I learned about him when he was featured on Cowboy Carter. So he's quite good. Thames is someone else who I like a lot. She's going to be at the Aragon September 15th, I think it is. It's a Sunday night. Same old story, resale tickets, crazy expensive. But she does some great Afro beats, like R&B kind of vibes.
Our colleague, Caroline Patton, marketing director at CityCast, also runs an account called the Chicago Show Calendar, which if you are really into live music and maybe trying to get at stuff early, I know she works very hard to keep that calendar updated as shows are getting booked and coming in. So maybe avoid some of those high resale prices if you follow her and can get on that early. I don't know how else to avoid those high resale prices other than just being on top of every single booking that comes into the city of Chicago. I don't know how else you do it. The other thing you can try, this is not foolproof, is just like hang out at the bar that's next door to the venue, right? And maybe somebody shows up. You know what I mean? Like I've had that happen with less big. I saw a live Dungeons and Dragons podcast, and they came into the bar, and we got to meet them and say hi and have like an informal meet and greet. So I don't know, maybe that was at the Riviera. So
I love that your Dungeons and Dragons success story now becomes the tip for somebody who might want to run into Tim's.
Maybe I don't know how she like lives
she
her
might
life,
stop by Late Nocturne. It's only like
She's
2 blocks away. She might go to the Green Meal after Aragon.
They need food. They need a drink. I don't know. Anything could happen. I'm just saying. That's the best tip I could offer you. Jacoby, what are you most looking forward to in fall?
Hey, shout out to See It reminded me of concerts because I am excited to see FemDot celebrate 5 years of 94 Camry music at Shuba's. I think it's September 26th. And that show only cost 94 cents. He was doing like promotion because it was called 94 Camry music, 94 cents for the ticket. And so that was really cool. But 2 seasons I'm really looking forward to, not named fall. One, football season. The other one, the start of theater season in Chicago. I'm going to start with football season. I typically go to either 0 or 1 game every single year. But this year, as the excitement is growing and the ticket prices are growing, I have been looking into some games with my homie Darius. And I think what we might do this year, which I've never done before, is tailgate. Because one of the biggest things people are going to tell you about Soldier Field is parking is ass. That trying to come to Soldier Field, park at Soldier Field, or in like the surrounding South Loop is very difficult. And you can tailgate from up to 4 hours before the game and 2 hours after the game. So if you want to be on site, you got to have your parking pass, you got to have your game ticket, but it's a way that you're not sitting on Lakeshore Drive at like 11 o'clock for a 12 o'clock start. You're allowed to get there as early as 8 a.m. in the morning to kind of get things going. You could bring your own alcohol, but you can't take it into the stands with you. It's an opportunity to meet other Bears fans. Of course, depending on where you're going, wear your layers. Make sure you bring all of the food and extra things that you need. Don't take up too many parking spots. So those are my big tailgating tips that I'm starting to pay attention to as I try to think, which game do I want to go to? Last time I went to see a Bears game, it was negative 15 degrees.
Classic. Very classic.
Yeah. It was tough out there.
Yeah.
It was tough. So adding tailgating on that it sounds a little kooky, but
It's a commitment. It's
for sure.
What about theater season? Any shows you're looking forward to?
So theater season, I try to get to at least 3 shows every year. Some years I'm more successful than others, but my categories are, and if you're thinking about getting into theater season and you start looking at how many shows, you could feel overwhelmed. Like concerts, Chicago has the range from storefront theater all the way up to Broadway musicals. And so I like to see 1 musical, 1 world premiere, and then 1 classic.
Isn't it great that we live in a city where you can do all 3 in one season?
All 3. And so this year, I want to see a world premiere. And right now, I'm thinking about Beneath the Willow Tree, which is running from September 6th to September 29th at the Den in Westtown. Follows this family of Black women living in Louisiana. A classic that I'm interested in seeing, made its premiere in Chicago 30 years ago, is East Texas Hot Links. It's been called a lyrical masterpiece, a nuanced character study, and it is the first show to kick off the 2024-25 season at Court Theater in Hyde Park, and that show is running from September 6th to September 29th as well. And then in terms of a musical, getting some good energy, Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations. This is a Tony-winning musical, tore up Broadway, I believe, from 2016 to 2019. And it's only going to be in town at the CIBC in the Loop from September 24th to September 29th. Now, I'll be either in the house watching football or outside watching great theater throughout September.
Those are all great, and I love football season, love theater season. But
you're more into the nature of the fall.
I just feel like and maybe it's because I am from a place where we don't really get fall colors the way we do here in Chicago. I think this is like one of the most underrated elements of fall in the Midwest. Like the colors are gorgeous, and like you can follow them wherever you need to. Illinois does a fall foliage guide where you go to the Enjoy Illinois, the Illinois tourism arm, and they will tell you at what point in time the leaf colors peak in different parts of the state. You can also find similar guides for nearby states. The one for Wisconsin is really, really good, and they have some really beautiful fall colors. We did last year a fall road trip guide where you can hear about some of the road trips that we thought were really exciting to take in the fall. And I think honestly, I'm almost more excited to just like follow the foliage tracker because it makes me feel powerful and like I know things, and I really like that feeling. So even if you don't care to see the fall colors, just check it out, and like then you can tell your friends like, hey, did you know the colors are going to peak in this week of September? And they're going to be like, oh my God, you know so much. I'm so impressed.
If you're interested in hearing any of these older CityCast Chicago episodes, check our show notes where we will drop links to those EPs.
Hi, this is David, the CEO of CityCast. Do you ever find yourself holding back on travel because you're afraid of a language gap? Well, mind the gap no longer, as long as you have Babbel. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app. Its 10 minutes lessons are quick and handcrafted to get you talking your new language in 3 weeks. So I was reminded in the Olympics how much I love French. I had spoken French as a kid, but it has deteriorated to nothing. But I thought I would love to take a trip back to France with my girlfriend, but I'm embarrassed because my French is at 0. And I thought, why don't I get on Babbel and revive my French? And it's been a joy for the past few weeks. I'd forgotten everything. I'd forgotten plurals. I'd forgotten articles, vocabulary. Mostly I'd just forgotten how to speak and how to listen. And Babbel has me back on track with lots of speaking and lots of listening, because that's how you get better at a language. So I've been working on time, for example, and there's this way in French where when you say 2:45, you don't say 2:45, you say 3 o'clock minus 15. So, je rentre à 3h moins le quart. I'm coming back at 2:45. Anyway, it's so much fun to speak. And don't take my word for it. There's studies from Yale, from Michigan State University that prove that Babbel works. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Since I think we've still technically got a few more weeks of summer, I know Sydney has until her mindset is over. Me and Simone have already put it behind us, but according to the calendar, we still got a couple more weeks. Do you have any like last summer hurrahs, things you really want to get out the way before we turn the page on this season? Simone, I'm gonna start with you.
One thing I think will kind of close out my summer is we are in supermoon season. So this is when the moon, when it's full, will be at its closest point in its orbit around Earth. So basically the moon's going to look real big. It's going to look really, really, really big. And the next one is going to be September 17th. That is the harvest moon. It's the harvest moon in Pisces, if you're into that sort of thing. So I think that's the thing I'm most looking forward to, getting outside while it's still warm, looking at the moon before I hunker down for the colder months.
Come on.
Have you ever been to a full moon jam, Simone?
I have never attended, but I have encountered it in the wild. Because I Full Moon Jam is this group that gets together during the full moon, and there's like dancing and drumming and all kinds of other stuff. And so I often will be walking, along the lake to look at the moon on my own, and then I'll like hear the drumming, slowly getting louder and louder. So I've never actually attended, but I've encountered them, and they say it's a good crew. It's it seems like a good time.
Sydney, what about you? I think this is really funny, the things that you're interested in doing in September, because we've spent the last 3 months every single week telling people about every place they can hit. So what are you looking forward to in September? Your last hurrah.
So I actually haven't really been to a fest this summer, which is nuts considering all the festival coverage we've done on the pod and in the newsletter. I will do like a little asterisk and say that I walked through Wicker Park Fest really fast within 10 minutes, like this Sunday night, and I bought a shirt, so I felt like that half counted. So I definitely
if you
need
get
to
merch, I think that gives you like another 30 minutes.
You think?
I don't know. Yeah, you spent money. You know what I mean?
That buys you more time there.
Okay, well, I need to obviously get more on my fest game, and every time I heard you guys talk about it, I did think... I need to get outside of my home. I need to be less lazy.
This is the week.
Right. So this month, Taste of Greektown. I haven't spent much time in Greektown, though my high school is near there. And I kind of always have cravings for those types of foods. So I'm trying to hit that this upcoming weekend. And then Oktoberfests. And there's one in Lincoln Square at the beginning of the month and one in Lakeview at the end of the month.
Yeah. We're going to hear more about Oktoberfest from our sponsor, Revolution Brewing, actually, a little bit later. And it's because the Oktoberfest festivities are happening in September. Many of them. Jacoby, what about you? Anything that you are trying to do to close out the summer here?
So this isn't like specific to any type of season, but I will say going into this summer, I expected to take way more photographs. Like my goals were to take a lot of pictures and to be on the water. And I did get on the water, not as much as I wanted, but I got out there. I used my building's pool. I kayaked Wolf Point and more of the Chicago River. We did karaoke storytellers on the lake. But I don't have proof of any of those things because I didn't take any pictures this summer. Obviously, we got Chicago Hinge later this month, which is like one of the biggest photo opportunities as the sun perfectly aligns itself with the Chicago grid. And if you just stand on, let's say, Roosevelt and just look west, you'll see that sunset coming down beautifully between the buildings. I've gotten photos of that before, but it's like low hanging fruit. And hopefully like the preparation, the motivation to get out there. Because it's only a small window of time to get a great photo, right? It's like 20, 30 minutes. And so I think in preparation for that moment later this month, I'm going to just get my camera out some more, couple more nature walks, couple more neighborhood walks, just to take some low-key pics.
Yeah, maybe you can like scan for the best areas to take your Chicago Henge pics,
Exactly.
right? My boyfriend is a photographer, so I asked him, I was like, where should you go for the Chicago Henge pics? And some of the non-downtown spots he pointed out was the like getting on a bridge over the north branch of the river somewhere along Cermak to get some really dramatic shadows, or playing with the overpasses in Chinatown around I-90 and I-55. And then also sort of an off-kilter photo would be facing northwest along any of the diagonals, Milwaukee, Lincoln, whatever. And then you don't quite get that like lineup of the sun behind the like train tracks, for example, that you'd get downtown, but you can get some really dramatic, kind of buildings and photos and interesting framing.
We always like to end these guys with what we're most looking forward to eating this month. Simone, what are you hoping to try this month?
Yeah, one thing that just came across my feed that opened in Wicker Park, Big Suda. This is a Asian fusion spot that specializes in dumplings. And we all know how much I love dumplings, specifically Korean mandu. And also soup dumplings. And I was just really excited because they just opened in August. And like I saw it come across my feed and immediately was like, yes, that's the one. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. And that's what I'm going to try. The other thing, and Jacoby, maybe you can help me out here. I'm going to be heading to this event at the Museum of Science and Industry where they're basically doing a museum-wide escape room. It's kind of a limited... It's a limited run. They're only doing it for a few nights in September. But I love a good puzzle. I love escape rooms. It's sort of based off this exhibit they have on 007 and spies. And so I was curious if you had any recs for a good dinner spot in Hyde Park before I go and do that.
For sure. I got a couple just right off the top of the head. 14 Parish, which is like a Caribbean restaurant off of 53rd Street. Typically a really solid dinner. I like the short rib. I think it's very good. And the drinks are good. You can go to Virtue, I think comes up all of the time. But if you want something maybe not as sit down, not as intimate, then right across the street, Daisy's Po' Boys. They are a little more expensive. You might be paying $17, $19 for a po' boy, but it is good. One place I haven't tried in Hyde Park that I'm interested in, it's right next door to the Silver Room, and it's Jordan's Soul Cafe.
All right. I got it. Sid, what about you? What are you most looking forward to eating in September?
So it's not actually something you can get anywhere. My grandpa makes soups and freezes them. And then my mom goes and retrieves them. And then she brings them to me. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
The soup chain.
I was formerly a soup hater, on brand with being a fall hater, but his soup kind of changed my mind. So it feels seasonally like the right time to stock up on the soup. And then I've gone to the Logan Square Farmers Market a few times this summer. There's a vendor there. I didn't catch their name, but they just have coolers of soup. And you can bring your own container, or you can get one when you're there. And I'm a bad cook / a lazy cook. And so I'm just trying to stock up on all the soups. So those are the two things that I'm trying to eat this month. What about you, Jacoby? What are you trying to eat?
I have a more expensive option and I have a more cost-friendly option. The cost-friendly option takes me down to Gresham and it's Mickey's Retro Grill. Now, this is a spot I've had a few times because they moved from Hyde Park to Avalon Park, and now they got a location over in Auburn Gresham, which is literally less than a block from my elementary school. And so now that school is back, I usually go see my principal, Denise Spells, once a year, once every couple of years, and I'm due for a visit. And so I'm going to pull up on my old elementary school and grab some Mickeys while I'm over there. And then I got an option that brings me all the way up to Uptown in Simone's neighborhood. And it's, I believe I'm saying this right, Carino. It's a new 20-seat Latin American eatery in Uptown that's named after the Spanish term for beloved. You can either enjoy a 12 to 16 course tasting menu, which I know people are like, okay, how much that is, Kobe? It is like $190 a person. And so this might be a birthday, anniversary, or if you just like balling on a Tuesday, do you? I don't know. I ain't pocket watching you. Like, but they also have a late night taco omakase, which is served at the 7-seat chef's counter. And that's only $125 a person.
I am way more willing to spend $190 for a meal experience than I am for a concert. Does that make me weird?
No. Every time a big concert comes up in the city, like me and my homie Darius will look at the ticket prices. This is how I went to Schwa, because Brent Fayez was coming into town at the Sauce Shed. We looked up the prices. They were all resale. For 4 people after all the taxes, we were like, you put like $100 more on that and you got 4 people at Schwa. We might as well go to Schwa. And so a lot of my tasting menus aren't just like, oh, I was balling, I wanted to go, but it ends up happening because another big purchase opportunity came up. And then I always weigh it against one of Chicago's expensive restaurants I haven't tried yet. And I think 90% of the time, Chicago's restaurants are winning.
Sydney disagrees.
Well,
Sydney would rather do the concert.
Yeah, and I want more people to be like that, because it's hard to text people like, hey, do you want to go? And they're like, oh, it's too much. I would rather spend that much on a dinner. I'm like, well, I wouldn't. And so then what are we supposed to do? The plans aren't planning.
Yeah, everyone ends up having to spend even more to do both.
Right.
That's the only solution.
It's a misalignment.
Every month we do these guys to Chicago, and I want to thank this month's panelists, executive producer Simone Alicea.
Hey, thanks.
And our newsletter editor, Sydney Madden.
Thanks, Jacoby.
Sydney, where can people go? Since they can't hear from you every day on the podcast, they can read your work every single day. Where can they go to get that?
That would be at chicago.citycast.fm.
And we are willing to send you events, latest articles, like cool things Sydney read that week, and so much more directly to your inbox for the free every morning, Monday through Friday. So again, subscribe at chicago.citycast.fm. I know we just spent all this time talking about September, but Oktoberfest is right around the corner too. This next segment is sponsored by Revolution Brewing and has some Oktoberfest tips.
Hey, I'm Will Fulton, content director at CityCast, and joining me is John Carruthers, the head of communications for Chicago's own Revolution Brewing. John, how are you? And are you excited to talk to me about beer today?
I am so excited. Shorts and hoodie weather is my favorite weather to talk about beer.
Amazing. Well, speaking of that, we have had a great summer on CityCast Chicago, working with Revolution, talking about the best summer festivals happening around town, drinking at baseball games, at barbecues. But fall is coming very quick. And for me, there were 2 big signs that we're switching seasons in Chicago. The first is that there's actual optimism around the Bears. They could be good. They could be good. Hope springs eternal. Caleb Williams is here to save us.
Yeah, like we haven't all seen this play before.
Exactly. But maybe more importantly, we're getting a new Oktoberfest beer from Revolution. So I'm wondering, what are you cooking up this year? What do you have in store for us?
So Revolution, right? A proudly Chicago, proudly American brewer, as I think a lot of the local producers are. And we are very much into doing things our own way and at our own standards, except when this time of year rolls around. We go back to Germany, to the unification of Bavaria, to the wedding of Princess Teresa of Saxe-Hildenberg. I can't pronounce German, but it's approximate. We brew that classic Märzen style, the old Oktoberfest style, and we brew it with all German methods and ingredients. There is literally nothing about what we do that they don't do across the ocean in Germany.
Well, that's amazing. I guess I see a lot of brewers coming out with beers labeled Oktoberfest. Like, are there certain qualities an Oktoberfest beer has to have? I mean, you talked about zagging a little bit. Are there things that are traditional that make a beer an Oktoberfest beer?
Sure. So ours is a little more traditional, like a kind of a caramel ambery color. It's got a balanced sweetness. It is super smooth. That's the thing with these the Oktoberfest beers. I think what makes it an Oktoberfest beer is that you can drink a whole liter of it by the time it gets a little warm. But you have lighter ones, you have darker ones. The point is they are all very long lagered, crystal clear, like German purity law beers. Like there's nothing extra in it. There's nothing to cheap it up. It is beer made the right way in a way that takes a little extra time and is completely worth the extra spend.
Totally. All right, so potentially stupid question. Oktoberfest obviously starts with the word October, but you always release it now, kind of at the end of summer, beginning of fall. Is that just in time for Bears fans to drown their sorrows, or is there a bigger reason here that you release it earlier?
So, Germany also has it in September. You got to get your Oktoberfest partying, done. It doesn't hurt that the NFL is coming back, but, in Germany, they face the same issues we do, that once you get into October, the weather's getting real dicey. And if you're, sharing a tent with a few thousand other people, you take certain risks that we Chicago Street Festival knowers know all too well.
Exactly. Well, speaking of another amazing fall tradition in Chicago, Revolution's Keep the Stein Nights, which are already underway. Look, I am such a big fan of swag, especially when I can drink out of the swag I get. So what's the deal with your Keep the Stein Nights? What are they all about?
So, Oktoberfest isn't just a day, it's a festival, and really it's kind of a season, celebrating fall. So we want to get out to the bars, the restaurants, the accounts where people drink our beer. We want to go meet them. We want to give them swag that doesn't just seem like swag, but some alternate souvenir from a parallel universe where Revolution is located in Bavaria.
I would visit that brewery in Bavaria. Yeah. Any plans to expand?
No, I think they've got it covered over in Germany, but we'll keep our ear to the ground.
Good call. John, before you leave us, and this has all been great, and by the way, we'll have a link to all of those Keep Your Stein Nights in our show notes, so everyone out there can check them out. But I wanted to ask you a kind of a personal question, Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, we've been chatting with you all summer about summertime shy, drinking at Cubs and White Sox games, but I've heard the sentiment that fall, not summer, might actually be the best season in Chicago, and I'm wondering what your take on that is.
I am 100% about that. I think what handicaps fall in the conversation is like the creeping doom of winter, but we can't celebrate the seasons like that, Will. So like for me, it's the time of year when you are, it's mild enough to go out and enjoy the city streets without feeling like you're being baked into them like a shrinky dink. And there's just as much going on, and it's a little easier, and there are maybe a few less out-of-towners around if you want to kind of get some elbow room downtown or at your neighborhood festival.
Amazing. And like you mentioned, hoodie and shorts, great combo.
Hoodie, it's the number one. I'm, 40-year-old dad, but that's my uniform.
Exactly. Real quick, John. Prediction, Bears record this year. What are you thinking?
The Bears were the first team I loved, right?
Right.
But I've also seen this song and dance over and over and over. 11-6. We're doing it.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, no matter what, at least we'll have Oktoberfest beer to enjoy.
Exactly.
All right. Well, cool. Thanks so much, John. Have a great day.
All right. Take care.
Go celebrate Oktoberfest in Chicago this fall with Revolution Brewing. And to snag one of the best pieces of swag you'll ever find, hit up one of their extremely fun Keep the Stein Nights. You can find the full schedule at revbrew.com/news/keepthestein. And look, if you can't spell Stein, we have that link for you in our description. All right, cheers.
Some good news. Our friends over at Block Club Chicago are throwing a block party this Saturday at McCormick YMCA in Logan Square from noon to 8. It's free to everybody. They're going to have live music, food, a beer garden, stuff for the kiddies, and more. I got a link for you in the show notes. As always, I appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. Hopefully you'll join us. Peace.
I was going to tell you to, it was too mean, but I was like, you should have done the boo effect for Simone when she said it wasn't summer. But then you agreed, and I was like, all right, maybe we don't boo here. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.